So, here we are once again with more of the same from the previously seen creationist. This time he has seen fit to respond directly to my video. There is nothing new or surprising however, so if that's what you were expecting, you will be disappointed. Before I address the video response he has made to myself, I would like to make some very brief points to some rambling videos he has made that are not direct responses to myself but are generalizations about the skepticism with regard to belief in any of the mythical gods, past or present. First off, let's deal with this bullshit claim of marginalizing of people by atheists. Are atheists not people then? Further, atheists are an underrepresented minority in the United States, not to mention third world countries like Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia and many other countries where atheists are marginalized, in some cases at the cost of their very lives. For this Christian creationist to talk about marginalizing people when he lives in a country where the vast majority of people are Christians and where more than half of the US population thinks that biblical creationism is correct over modern science, this demonstrates a huge amount of psychological projection. And for criticizing atheists for marginalizing others when creationists such as this one do it routinely, this also doubles as hypocrisy. Now let's deal with this pile of crap. Atheism is the default position. All babies are born atheists. The only difference is they don't know what that word means. So does this creationist think that babies are born intrinsically believing in the God of Christianity in the United States? Maybe they're born believing in Allah in Saudi Arabia. Or maybe they're born with an intrinsic belief in Krishna in India. The only way that this creationist can justify such a ridiculous claim as the one he is making is by redefining atheism such that it no longer means a lack of belief in the supernatural, but that it is loaded with connotations relating to communism, socialism, nationalism and everything else that these people want to include in their attacks. I'd like to draw your attention to the title of practically all of his new videos, and that's The Idiocy of Atheism. Need I say more? Finally, I'd like to state that even assuming the case that this creationist had managed to win anything against an individual such as myself or FSAthe1st, it does not mean that he has won anything against the whole concept of atheism nor the atheist community. By that logic, the Pope should not need a bulletproof vehicle constructor. Simple minds do often find the oddest things funny. Do they not?
Where does the Bible say that God is all-loving?
This creationist should congratulate himself on alienating his fellow creationists and the majority of Christians who are trying to convince us evil atheists of their God's loving nature. For the record, I and many other atheists do not see the Christian God as all-loving, and we all know that it doesn't say in the Bible that God is all-loving, though it is a matter of interpretation.
And where does it say that God will protect you from bullets?
The mental gymnastics that this creationist goes through is amazing. While every fundamentalist I have so far spoken to tries to convince us that God is love, that God will provide, and that God will ensure the protection of his followers, this creationist is throwing all of that away by stating that it doesn't say that in the Bible. But so what? I don't care that it doesn't explicitly state in the Bible that his precious God will protect people from bullets, or that his God is specifically all-loving. The fact is that it does state, as part of the religion, that anyone with faith as a grain of mustard seed can move mountains and that nothing will be impossible to them. It also says God is love, which anyone who can read the book without bias can see is a whole load of bollocks. Furthermore, the point that FSAthe1st made, and I tried to reiterate, is that if the God of the Bible was prepared to endow protection on his charges in the Old Testament, then why is he not doing so today? It's not because he doesn't want to, it's not because he is angry with the world. It's not because we are saying this because we're angry with this God. I mean, how can we be angry with something we don't even believe exists? It's because the Christian God as described in the Bible does not exist. And finally, FSAthe1st stated on his original video to shock a fraud that if heaven was such a wonderful place and everything was true, then why are people so afraid to go there to the point that they will do everything in their power to stop themselves from dying?
This atheist seems to think that Christianity is based on what people do and not what Jesus tells us to do.
This atheist thinks it's all a load of bollocks. This creationist, however, has demonstrated his willingness to engage in blinding arrogance and assuming he knows how I think. And I should congratulate the creationist on demonstrating that unquestioning obedience to the religion, no matter how dangerous or anti-human it is, seems to be a virtue to him. It says a lot about the character of these people.
Sorry, atheist. This does not serve as evidence against the all-powerful, all-knowing creator of the universe.
According to this creationist, that might be the case, but what this does serve to demonstrate is that this creationist is willing to engage in mental gymnastics all across the place to justify his beliefs. Furthermore, an all-knowing, all-powerful God would still protect those people spreading his word. After all, spreading the word of the God of the Bible is supposedly what the God of the Bible wants in the first place, with a view to ensuring people all bow their knees and confess their sins and give up their individuality for the complete, unwavering and total obedience to the God of the Bible. And if it's in this God's interests, then why not protect those people who are doing God's work? It doesn't make any logical sense. Sorry, Mr. Creationist, FSAthe1st's point remains standing on this matter no matter how many different hoops you try to make your mind jump through to wriggle your way out of this one. By the way, this creationist has forgotten that an all-seeing, all-knowing God would not need to ask why Adam and Eve are hiding in the Garden of Eden, because they would never be able to hide from him. Two widely accepted hypothetical explanations for the extinction of dinosaurs. One, they were wiped out by an impact 65 million years ago. Or two, they were gradually made extinct by suffocation due to pyroclastic ash in the atmosphere caused by increased volcanic activity, which larger organisms were more susceptible to. It seems that this creationist finds facts about modern science rather amusing. That's about par for the course for the simple-minded.
Thanks for the science lecture, but you just completely jumped around the question.
No, it's not that I completely jumped around the so-called question, it was that this meaningless question, which by the way wasn't a question, does nothing to demonstrate anything supernatural supplanting a natural explanation, which is what FSAthe1st's point, and mine, was in the first place. It's not my job to educate people who are unwilling to learn about a subject themselves. This creationist has demonstrated that he is closed-minded to the evidence that contradicts his biblical inerrancy claims, and as such, I am under no obligation whatsoever to teach him what first-year college students will learn while studying biology. The evolutionary pathway of the crocodile can be traced through the tree of life, and its lineage has been documented. The question of why the crocodile survived rather than dinosaurs is ultimately meaningless. Only the how matters, and there are explanations for how this is, even if the creationist wishes to ignore them all and play stupid clips of people laughing and then accusing me of being a question dodger.
Also, this atheist apparently doesn't realize that there were hundreds of species of dinosaurs much smaller than crocodiles and mini snakes, which apparently have survived this volcanic suffocation
and have subsequently also evolved into modern day reptiles and birds. But again, as I said in the original, larger organisms would be more susceptible for a variety of reasons because smaller organisms are better able to adapt to such conditions. Again, for a variety of reasons that are documented in the scientific literature and in college textbooks. Listen kid, if you want to attack a field of science, it might be a good idea to find out about said field of science first. Just FYI.
Also, according to creationists, which I am not but taking a second look at,
bollocks. The only reason why someone would attack a modern science and then claim that because said science did not supposedly have an answer to a given question, it must somehow be evidence for a supernatural cause and therefore it must supplant a natural explanation with a supernatural one, is because they are a creationist. Oh, and even if he were to demonstrate that evolutionary biology was completely and utterly wrong, that is not evidence for the supernatural supplanting a natural explanation, and so this creationist's point is completely invalidated. The only thing that demonstrating evolutionary biology to be wrong would do is create a void that would then have to be filled with another theory. Sorry, Mr. Creationist, as I said just now, if you wish to attack modern science, you'd better learn about said science first.
You might think that Noah's Ark is a fable, but you might want to actually look at the Ark first.
Now, if any evidence was needed that this guy is a creationist, he is about to present it. It also doubles as a bout of hilarity.
They began scanning their site with a molecular frequency generator. It's a device used by surgeons to pinpoint cancer tumors, and it's been used by FSAthe to locate underwater treasure. This time, the molecular frequency generator began to pick up a unique pattern of iron lines beneath the Earth.
Okay, bring that one up.
They began placing ribbons along those lines. The finished shape, outlined by the ribbons, was that of a huge ship, the approximate length and width of Noah's Ark, as described in the Bible.
Honestly, if that's the best this creationist can do, then I don't think any of us need worry about him making any surprising revelations to us anytime soon. Note that no actual source was presented, just as was the case in the previous video. This creationist has ignored countless others. Others, such as electrical conductivity being the cause of lightning storms, or earthquakes being caused by plate tectonic action, or violent tornadoes and hurricanes being caused by pressure systems in the atmosphere. No, seriously, go look it up. Electrical conductivity, weather systems, plate tectonics, these things all have a natural explanation, and if this creationist thinks it's funny, then let him put his fingers in an electrical wall socket and pray to his god that he's not angry that day so the creationist doesn't get fried through his wrath.